Hey everyone, today I'm here with Megan Luscomb, and Megan just came through our Permaculture Design Course. And I have to say, having Megan in my class for the last 8 months she took a part-time course with us, has been absolutely incredible for me. It's probably been one of the most impactful growth experiences that I've had over the last 10 years teaching permaculture, in that Megan is vision impaired. She has very little vision, and so trying to teach a program as tactile and I don't know how to say this, but where a lot of my teaching cues are visually dependent, forced me to really rethink how I teach the permaculture design course. And so I wanted to have an opportunity to interview Megan with regards to how she found the PDC and how the PDC transformed the way she thinks about the world. So welcome, Megan.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm glad that that I was able to provide such a growth experience to you.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was a lot of fun taking the course too. So thanks for that.
Yeah, some of the things that were really interesting for me was trying to teach contour mapping.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like using some of your tools that you use in order to try and understand a physical world without vision was very insightful for me, because I think it also helped the other students to understand it as well, like trying to see it through the lens of your fingers and how you generally approach the world. So it was really, really great.
Well, I think the cool thing about contour maps is that they just provide another way to see things, right? So it's just a 3D representation of it, and I don't know. A lot of times, looking at something differently can give you a whole new perspective on it.
Absolutely. So I wanted you to tell me a little bit about your life before the PDC. And so I'm trying to get a sense of kind of what that transformation looked like during the program. But when just before the conversation, we were talking a little bit about, how you participate in some gardening and some greenhouse work and just general life activities. And so I want to know kind of what life looked like before you took a permaculture design course.
Well, before the permaculture design course, life looked pretty separate. There's a lot of separate entities in my life that I didn't really see as connected, that were just kind of floating around doing their own thing. A lot of the things that I did with gardens and stuff like that were pretty separatist. Like nothing was really interconnected. It was all just like, well, there's a pot of something here and there's another, bucket of something here, and they're just going to do their own thing. And the same thing goes with my life, like trying to find a job, trying to find a house, and that was all separate as well. So a lot of things were just in their own separate container and didn't really have any interconnectedness to them.
So would you say that your biggest struggle was the lack of, well, I mean, you said it, the lack of connectedness, and would you say that you knew that there was another way, but you didn't necessarily know how to get there?
Yeah. So what led me to permaculture was actually I grow citrus trees, and the only way that I could think of that you can successfully kind of do this, because they're growing way outside their zone. So the only way that I could think of to successfully do this is to actually use other plants to help them, and other things that connect to the system. And so that's what got me started kind of down this rabbit hole. And I knew there was another way that kind of, viewed things as more of wholes as opposed to separate parts, and looked at the system as opposed to just looking at the separate little pieces that fit together. So yeah, I knew there's another way to look at this puzzle.
So what was the emotional or physical or financial or mental implications of knowing that there was another way, but not necessarily knowing what it was?
I would say that was kind of frustrating, because there's another way to do something, and it might be better and it might not be, but it might be better. So, why not take the chance and learn about it and see if it works for you, right?
Totally. So how did the PDC help you to overcome the struggle, thinking that there was a better way, not necessarily knowing, and then taking that leap of faith to try it out? How did that kind of resolve that for you?
I think it definitely it resolved it by changing the way I think about things. So I definitely take a more systems approach now to not just gardening, but I think to everything in my life. Like I can see how things are more interconnected just by some of the concepts of the course, just by learning them and just thinking about things differently.
And I mean, especially for you, did you find the program to be hard, to be enjoyable? Like what
Oh,
was...
I had a blast, to be honest. I really had a blast. It was a lot of fun just getting to meet all these new people who kind of, think in the same way and just have all these crazy, awesome conversations about things and just learning so much stuff. It was definitely, it's definitely a lot of work, but it's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Could you tell me what your top 3 insights were in the program?
I think the whole systems, like everything works in systems, was a huge one for me because that's that really changed the way I thought about a lot of things in my life. Also, just how one thing can change so many other things. Like if you make one little change, you could have some crazy huge impacts, right? Along the line, like in the system. So, like if you change like a little thing, then a bunch of other things can happen as a result.
Like the butterfly effect.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And also just the regenerative like power that we have. Like we can really, take something that's really degraded, like a degraded environment, and really regenerate it, and with not too much work either. So it's not really that hard to do.
So the regenerative capacity of nature, but also
Yeah.
humans' ability to play a role in that.
Yeah, for sure. Because we can manage that system as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm curious, Megan, like from your perspective, who do you think would benefit from taking a permaculture design course?
I think really anyone would. Just to get that different perspective on, like you were saying before, just like humans' role in that regeneration and how you could play a part, and just it's a lot easier to live your life when it is in systems as opposed to just separate parts. So I think that really anyone could benefit from it.
Okay. So I think you mentioned that you had grown citrus at the beginning of the course, and I'm just remembering that now. But I'm curious how you're gonna. I mean, how are you gonna use permaculture in the way in your citrus operation, or what you're doing with citrus trees? And I want to talk to you a little bit more about that offline. But how are you going to use permaculture going forward? How do you see it impacting your life in the next 5 years?
Well, I'm not really sure. I'm not really one to plan out my, like, I don't have like a 5-year plan or anything like that. But I'm sure that will definitely influence my life going forward, just because of the way that I look at things as systems now, right? So I'm not sure what I'll end up doing with permaculture as a whole, but like definitely will influence me for sure going forward.
Right. So, I mean, we can quickly just chat about this citrus stuff right now. I mean, we're developing passive solar greenhouses. And so I think one way that you could use your skills growing citrus and breeding them would be to actually sell citrus trees to passive solar greenhouse owners.
That would be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. So I think that we should talk a little bit about that. And if there's anybody out there that wants to talk to Megan about citrus, definitely get in touch with me and I can connect you to her. And I'm sure that I'm sure that she can help you, provide you with some citrus, or show you how to do it. So
yeah, they're really fun to grow. They're not that hard. And if you get it working for you, it can be pretty rewarding. Like, you've never tasted lemonade like the kind that you can grow at home. Seriously.
Well, I think I might be your first customer. Let's have a conversation about that. Megan, I really want to thank you for taking time to chat with me today. Did you have any final closing thoughts before we close out the video?
Well, I mean, it was definitely a pleasure talking to you and taking the course, and it was just a blast, and I had so much fun. So thanks for providing me with that opportunity to learn and to grow. It was amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan.
Well, thank you.